no relation to citizenship. We find this motion unnecessary. Now, on to the rebuttal. The opening government tells us that these people cannot blend in. They simply do not know the language. They can't make a living. They cannot read maps. They cannot read the menu. They cannot live a better life in this country. Now we see that it is since the opening government has portrayed these languages as so important. We find that these people will have the incentive to learn these languages so that they can actually survive in the society. And when we find, thank you, ma'am. We simply don't see how these citizens, in order to survive, will not have the incentive. They will not learn these languages, which we don't know why the opening government has clearly ignored this incentive. And they've been talking about how living dreams, and we surely see that this is important. It's important for them to know this language before they can pursue the dream. And we find this is a very important thing. And these immigrants, they will know they need to learn the language after they have been admitted to the country. And we see that the opening government is emphasizing, thank you, ma'am. They've been emphasizing that the language needs to start with a foundation. But thank you, sir. This is true that everything gets started from the 0 point, where people have simply no knowledge of the first thing, of the basics at all. They simply have to get a starting point, and we've been approving an extension that language does not necessarily is not necessarily for any people around the world to know the basics before they get to get the immigration application. So thank you, sir. And we see the opening government. The third point is that they're constantly telling us that people applying for social wealth and social benefits in our town society. We see that there are also people, such as in Canada, they know English, but they do not have the incentive to improve. They are also those people who are constantly applying for social welfare, applying for Medicare. No, thank you, ma'am. But we see these people also not contributing to society, and we see that the government is simply trying to use language as a bar to barricade and draw a line between these two people. We find they've not considered them. They're actually having the same circumstances. We find these opponents as similar to extreme nationalism like Nazis. And on to the closing, thank you, sir. No, thank you, ma'am. And on to the third point, on to the fourth point about the closing government extension, and how people actually be exploited after they've been immigrated to other countries. We see that is clearly a labor regulation problem. They've been talking about those exploitation in different countries, and we recognize this is a problem of labor regulation, not a problem of immigrants. We take a look at from two perspectives. Where people from one side of developing countries do not know these kind of skills and language, which they will have no education level in the first place, they get easily exploited. But we see that they're refugees, they're also political asylum. They're actually seeking for protection. And we see that if we bother them, send them back to where they originally are, they're going to be felt way far worse than having a job inside the country where they're applying for immigration. And we see in the second, I'll take you in a moment now. In the second point, on the second level, where they're educated people from developed countries, and we see there's a very low chance for them to be exploited because they already know what similarly like for having proper labor conditions. Yes, ma'am.
Political refugees should never be included in this model because they are exceptions. They are not the normal.
Thank you, ma'am. These people seeking for political asylum, these refugees are also immigrants. You can't simply exclude them from this type. And also, my extension, as opposing opposition recognizes the principle of freedom of movement and the freedom of choice to live a better life. And we see this motion simply does not allow these advocacies of this House is constantly advocating over developing countries. We're actually trip over our own advocacy. And we see that knowing language is actually too harsh. It's actually a very high bar in order to let these people to be integrated into the country. We see that mastering the basics of the language does not necessarily is happening for every part of the world. We see that in places in people in developing countries, they don't even know the basics. There's simply no idea of the language before. No, thank you, sir. Where people in developed countries, they can actually learn civil language since they already have the people there to teach. They have the opportunity to get taught there. And we do not recognize that this language has been brought up by the government today. It's a fair and a test which allows fair competing grounds in the first place. And we see that the government is actually de facto, no thank you, ma'am, cherry picking the developed country citizens. It's discriminatory to developing country citizens and we see this does not show fairness of the government, and simply cannot show that the government is doing the moral authority. And following on my extension, we see that the government, thank you, ma'am, thank you, sir, trying to blur the side between living better, the skill living better life, and citizenship. We see that citizenship is a willingness to contribute and benefit society, where we provide lenient for just to provide choice and freedom of movement. So that in cases such as refugees and political persecutors, they can actually have the chance to live in that country and seek protection. We see this as a responsibility, and the country needs to, and this house needs to show acceptance and inclusiveness to these people, so that we can diplomatically pressurize those developing countries to better their conditions. And moreover, we don't see language itself as a necessary skill to be a part of citizenship. We see a Schengen Treaty of European Union, and we see France having a shortage of low-skilled workers, which is very contributed in working into lower strata, which has been very contributed to the economy. We see the Schengen Treaty of European Union, it does not necessarily have a language test, which shows that countries value low-skilled labor. They want this to be part of their economy to show their benefit, to give benefit to society. Ladies and gentlemen, it's called closing opposition. Now, recognize that this language test is never a fair, never an open one to all people, and we say that because we defend the difference between citizenship and the necessary skills to live a better life, closing opposition is very proud to oppose.